Thank you, Prateep and the V2V partnership for this opportunity to present an overview of our work in the Dried Fish Matters project, on which I'm the project director. I'd like to begin by linking my presentation to the title of the webinar in the following way. So in the context of the viability of small-scale fisheries and fisheries value chains, where does dried fish fit in terms of opportunities and challenges? I want to briefly address this question in relationship to the Dried Fish Matters project, or the DFM project, as I'll call it from now on. DFM includes participation by several members of this panel, and so I'm really happy to be on the panel with all of you. In broad terms, as a product, dried fish has enormous value in terms of food and nutrition security, livelihoods, cultural meanings, and in other ways as well. But dried fish value chains also have significant challenges, and these include problematic labor conditions, product quality concerns, contamination, competition from other economic uses and actors that threaten the long-term viability of these dried fish value chains. So in this presentation, I'll summarize the social economy approach that the Dried Fish Matters project is taking to the opportunities and challenges of dried fish value chains in South and Southeast Asia. And then I'm going to give you some very brief illustrations of the kinds of insights that the project is generating with reference to just two segments of dried fish value chains in the overall region. But first of all, let me tell you a little bit more about the Dried Fish Matters project and the approach of the project to studying dried fish value chains. Okay, so the Dried Fish Matters project then is funded by the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada and under the Partnerships Grant Program. This is the same funding envelope that is funding the V2V partnership. So the Dried Fish Matters program or project is looking at dried fish value chains in 6 countries across South and Southeast Asia. And it's a 7-year-long project. So we've got a generous amount of time to be understanding dried fish value chains in the region. And I should point out within India, we have 8 different state research locations. So India is quite well covered by the project. And in recent months, we've also extended our research to the Philippines, where we now have a master's student conducting some research there. So that's why I have 6+ countries listed on the slide here. This, at the top of this slide, we've got the full title of the Dried Fish Matters project. So the remainder of the title is Mapping the Social Economy of Dried Fish in South and Southeast Asia for Enhanced Well-Being and Nutrition. And so you can see that there are links to several of the other speakers through this expanded title. So in relation directly to Priyadarshi's talk and to Derek's talk earlier, well-being is a central conceptual element of the project. In very broad terms, this longer title encompasses 2 major areas of interest for the project. So this is a research-driven project. So that's one key area. We're aiming to generate knowledge about dried fish value chains around South and Southeast Asia in a way that hasn't previously been done. But more than that, we are intending that this knowledge generation that the project is producing will also lead to ideas about development interventions in the dried fish sector across the region. The project rests on the idea of social economy. So I'll just say a couple of words about what we mean by that. So social economy is the idea that economic relationships are embedded in broader social, cultural, political, ecological conditions. So it's taking economy and turning it into a more interdisciplinary frame for analysis. And within the project, we're particularly interested in the idea of values. And so we take a value chain perspective, but we focus on this notion of value in value chains, and we expand that idea from just narrow ideas of economic value creation to understanding how value creation relates to these broader contextual conditions that are captured by the social economy idea. So how is it that cultural contexts or ecological conditions create certain constraints to or opportunities for value realization? Okay, so it's an expanded understanding of value chains and value chain analysis that we're arguing for in this project. And the project as a whole also is particularly interested in small scale actors who are involved in value chains. And so, we build on the ideas of Ratana's Too Big to Ignore project in this regard in particular. So we're interested in how small scale actors across the value chain are able to realize value through their engagements in value chains. And we pay particular attention to the diversities in interests and well-being aspirations that exist within those value chains and are held by these different value chain actors. Dried Fish Matters has a large, broad understanding of what dried fish is. Our basic definition of dried fish is that dried fish are any fish product that can be stored at room temperature that does not involve high levels of industrial packaging. So we exclude canned fish from our category, but we include categories of fish products that might not normally be considered as dried fish. So for example, the bottom left here, we have an image of a jar of fermented fish in Bangladesh. On the bottom right, we've got a gentleman holding a set of fish sauce bottles. So both of those fall under our definition of dried fish because they are storable at room temperature. They don't require high levels of industrial packaging. And we also include all of the more traditionally understood varieties of dried fish, like the ones you see across the top there in various country contexts, Sri Lanka, India, and then in the middle, the bottom there in Cambodia. So why is dried fish important? Why does this topic merit the focus of a large research project? Well, there are a number of key features of dried fish that are really critical to the importance of this product. So number one, dried fish are portable and they last a long time. They are a mode of preparing fish that allows us to overcome the limitations of fresh fish. Fresh fish obviously spoil very quickly. When you dry fish, however, that problem is overcome. Dried fish are easily divisible into small portions, so they can be sold for low cost and therefore complement the diet of low-income populations. So that's the third point. They are readily accessible to poor populations because of this portability, because of the fact that they're long-lasting, because of the fact that they are small, and they're easily divided into small portion size. And perhaps most importantly, dried fish are critical to nutrition security in South and Southeast Asia because small portions of dried fish, and we're talking a tablespoon of dried fish, can satisfy the nutritional requirements of a child for a day. So you do not need very much of this product in order to achieve very important nutritional outcomes. And let's also not forget that dried fish are important because they have deep, deep histories of use in South and Southeast Asia, and they are integrated into many of the cuisines of the region. So in that sense, they are highly culturally important to people, to consumers in South and Southeast Asia.
Terry?
Yes.
1 more minute.
Okay, thank you. At the same time, however, dried fish are an unfortunately neglected area of research, and that's what this project is trying to address. And so I'm nearly out of time, and I'm almost done at the same time. I wanted to try and draw all of this work by the Dried Fish Matters project together with some of the key themes of the V2V partnership, and particularly around this area of opportunities and challenges. And so I'll move past this slide and go to these two specific examples. One of the key challenges in the dried fish sector is competition from more industrially oriented forms of production and trade. And here, this image captures bycatch from bag net fishing in Bangladesh. Um, this fish, as was mentioned by Dr. Das, is fish that otherwise could be used for direct human consumption, but it's instead going for fish meal production. And so is being fed into aquaculture and poultry supply chains. This is problematic from the point of view of the nutritional potential of dried fish. And so there's a challenge here, and particularly because this fish meal production sector is growing rapidly in India and other places in South and Southeast Asia. How can we transform this fishery and the diversion of this fish into fish for human consumption and realize those nutritional possibilities of this fish? We have to try and find ways of seizing that opportunity and diverting the challenge of the rise of the fish meal industry. Another example is changes in dried fish markets, dried fish trading, a shift towards organic, an interest in organic consumption in Bangladesh, and even more recently within the COVID pandemic, we're seeing a shift towards more and more online trading of dried fish. So similarly, there's an opportunity there. New market niches are opening there. New consumer preferences are being manifest there. But there are also significant challenges. Who is benefiting from these changes in dried fish value chains? That's one of the key questions that our project can seek to address. Okay, so in conclusion then, like small-scale fisheries, the dried fish sector is an undervalued economic sector. It deserves more policy and governance attention. And we think that the social economy perspective gives insight into the diverse and complex opportunities and challenges towards the dried fish sector's viability, and specifically viability for the small-scale actors in these dried fish value chains. And if this presentation has piqued your curiosity, you can go to driedfishmatters.org and get more information on the project and what we're up to. Thank you very much.